Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag-and-drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show. Spoiler. It's giant robots.
Yep.
Oh, so what are you doing over there? Are you with me? Are we doing this?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you just killing time?
I'm watching something.
I think I hear it.
Yeah.
I hear it.
Explosions and such.
Yeah, I don't give it away. For the love of everything, don't give it away.
For the love of everything holy.
So how are you?
I am grand.
Are you feeling good? This is a good week.
I guess it's been a busy week, honestly. You've
been working on budgets?
I've been working on proposals for projects, and I've been working on it's end of the semester for the kids, so
the kids.
Yeah. Doling out grades, trying to make kids happy.
Any good scripts? You got any good scripts that people are turning into you?
Yeah, some pretty good ones. I had a good class with it's funny. Every semester, there's always a trend in scripts. Like last semester, it was like serial killer families.
Killer families?
Yeah, it was really...
it's a Dexter thing.
I guess so. It was something. This semester, it was like some heavy dramas, like some real heavy dramas. Before that, it was zombies. It's like and it's strange how I keep getting these trends with the kids. They're not planning it. It's just
smart catalog.
Something in the air. Yeah, I'm going to have them all send their scripts to you as soon as they're done.
It may, I could use a new writing partner.
There you go.
Maybe a zombie romance.
Mm-hmm. We need more rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
Thing.
You where do people find you and all about you?
They can find me over at Soda Creek Film on Twitter and Facebook, and at Movies We Like page on Facebook, and of course at rashpixel.tv.
Yeah, you should go there. I'm hoping that ends soon.
We're working on it.
Man, did we hose ourselves on that. People, domain squatting sucks. I'm sorry, it stinks. It makes me mad.
Yeah.
So if anybody has, this is a call to arms.
To all of our listeners.
To all of our, Sarmento, I'm looking at you. Anybody who has $1,500 between their sheets, a mattress, and box springs, we could sure use it because some domain squatters got movieswelike.com. And now we don't have it.
That's right.
So we're hurting. Rashpixel.tv is where you can find the current website of the show, and you should definitely check that out because Andy has gone hog wild, catching up on all of our old material and putting up all of the lists that we've talked about. I mean, seriously, if you want to catch up on the list of films with bad soundtracks and/or particularly awful pop songs based on great scores, you'd find out where we stand on that, or the Why We Loved Meg Ryan list, which is another hit. Some of the most popular content on our site is the Chappaquiddick subgenre list. and one of my favorites, the Movies About Strippers list, in order of quality.
Question mark.
That's a short list. And
if any of you have additions to our list, feel free to send them our way. We'd love to throw your suggestions onto our list.
We certainly would. And I think we've talked about this before, but the one sort of growing list that we may take seriously, although not added to this evening in particular, books from which Movies We Like were adopted. And all those links, you can go buy the books from Amazon, and that'll send us a little pimp fee. Anything on the site. You click a link, and it takes you to Amazon. If you buy something there, it'll send us a pimp fee to support the site. So we truly appreciate your support and your purchases of great movies and movie-related stuff. You can find me at Pete Wright on the Twitter, and obviously at rashpixel.tv on the website. And on Facebook, and we've had some really nice comments and commentary, and a couple of great comments on our iTunes page. We surely appreciate you taking your time and donating your spare stars to a 5-star review on iTunes. And a couple of folks have written in some very nice things. Who has written in, Andrew?
Well, this is one that we've been sitting on, holding out for a kind of a clump of reviews to read. Derek W. Jazz, back in July, kindly said, stumbled across this one on my Smodcast channel. Enjoyable conversation for any movie geek. They don't just focus on the latest summer blockbuster. Everything from The African Queen to Prometheus. Can get a little techno geek at times. That's probably me.
I was just going to say that.
But they are objective and obviously real film fans. Give it a go.
Oh, it's very nice of you, Derek W. Jazz. Who else do we need to thank?
One Spicy Pup, which is our lovely friend Sarmento. We somehow neglected to ever read his, which I think he had posted, and then he reposted maybe as a reminder, so that it moved up in the ranks. It's my Saturday morning routine to do yard work and listen to movies we like. I try not to listen while working in the front yard to avoid grinning and laughing out loud with hedge clippers in my hands as neighbors walk past. Probably smart on his part. Insightful, entertaining, and always enjoyable. Did the jiggly monkeys poop in your lemonade during the week? Listen to movies we like as a way to get your weekend off to a great start.
That's so nice. Even the thing about poop.
That's right.
Aww.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Spicy Pup. And I think we have one more.
Yeah, and then Joel H. just wrote in, and this was a very recent one. Andy and Pete do an amazing job of maintaining a good balance of informative, pithy dialogue and witty banter. Their two personalities are somewhat different, but mesh perfectly to create a genuinely entertaining and enlightening podcast. I think he's talking about me again.
Are you the pithy one or the witty one?
No, I'm different. Another thing I appreciate is the clean style of the broadcast. Never do I have to worry about my 4-year-old daughter overhearing something she shouldn't. Thanks, Pete and Andy. So that's
that
great.
Is really nice. And you know what? That is a terrific reminder, because I tend to, if anybody is going to push the boundary there on the podcast, it's going to be me. So this is a great reminder that that this is for all ages. And to Joel's 4-year-old daughter, thank you so much for listening.
Yes, indeed.
As a lover of children everywhere, we appreciate our younger listeners.
She may not get as much out of our show as she would out of Yo Gabba Gabba, but
we like to
try anyway.
We like to start them early.
That's right.
And you know, I think switching gears to Facebook a little bit, I think it's the same. I'm gonna to roll the dice on this one. I think it's the same Joel who posted a great question to our Facebook page this week, and I wanted to get your take on it. He writes, "Hey fellas, just listen to the Leon episodes. Great stuff as always." Thank you very much, Joel. "When you spoke of Gary Oldman, it made me think of one of my favorite films, True Romance. Amen to that. Any chance of you guys doing an episode on this one, perhaps as part of a Tarantino or modern pulp series? Stay nubile, gents. Count on that." Joel. Now, you wrote me an email about this, and you, I think, also responded, to Facebook and
right.
to Joel on Facebook. And I noticed you didn't really latch onto the Tarantino thing.
Well, you know, as much as I love Tarantino, I feel like everybody talks about Tarantino. And, you know, it's one of those things I mean, I think we could, I kind of feel like it would be more interesting to find a way to tie Tarantino's films into some other series.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah, you know, and I think we may have landed on that series, and it's a series that I have gotten progressively more excited about as we were talking about it, which is and I think it could be a substantive one, which is a whole series on criminal couples,
or couples on the run.
Couples on the run. That's what we're going to be doing? So,
well, because they may not be, they may be accidental criminals.
All right. All right, so that gives us a frame for talking about, in particular this film, which I think is a great one, and we should absolutely add that to the list. So that should be coming in 2013. We are actively working on our 2013 schedules of series. And so we're excited to start rolling that out. We have a couple of shows in the proverbial can to get us through the holidays that we recorded a few weeks back to give you a holiday dose. So you'll hear those shortly. But 2013 we're starting off big. Excited about it.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
indeed.
Now we got to work in the we got a new way of talking about trailers.
Yes,
because you had an epiphany. Share your epiphany.
Well, instead of talking about all these trailers and then directing people to each individual movie's page or podcast page on our site to see the link, why don't we put the links in our blog on our page where people can just go to the blog, and we'll be constantly updating our blog with new trailers, new things about films. I mean, talking about like The Hobbit in HFR 3D, all that sort of stuff. It's all going to be on our blog. So we're going to talk about a couple trailers, and then we'll keep you guys informed of all the other trailers that are exciting us throughout the week on our blog.
Which we are already doing, and we're very excited about. So you can head over to rashpixel.tv and click on the blog to start seeing some of those posts, and all those things cross-post over to Facebook. So if you're a Facebook person, you can just catch us all there. But that is, I think every week there are a couple of trailers that we're really excited about for one reason or another, and rather than kind of belabor the trailer discussion here, we have decided then to talk about, each of us, our one most very favorite trailer of a movie that we're very much looking forward to each week,
or the one that we'd most like to talk about, because the one
we are most looking forward to talking about. How's that?
There you go.
All right. And so should we draw straws, or do you have some sort of a method to who goes first?
You go.
I don't think there's any way to understate just how excited I get about this particular superhero right now. That is Man of Steel. I am very excited about the Man of Steel trailer 2 that came out this week. It is it just, I don't know. I think part of the reason I'm so excited about it is because I have no idea what to expect. We've got Clark Kent with a beard. He's got the full Bourne Identity style, found in a boat accident, kind of, floating lifeless in the sea. He rescues a bus as a youth. And we actually see him. We see him take off in flight. I mean, it's just some very iconic imagery. The music, the score by Hans Zimmer, it sounds so much more like what's his name, Bear McCreary.
Yep.
Who I'm quite a fan of, and so it's haunting and a whole different look at this character, and for that. I'm very excited to see what they do with this legend. I was a fan of Superman Returns, in spirit than in practice. I thought it was kind of a forgettable movie. I enjoyed watching it, and then I promptly didn't think much about it anymore. And I think we've said this before. We've been talking about how my kids and I have been making our way through Smallville, and we just finished yesterday.
Wow!
The three of us, me and my kids, the two kids, we got through 10 years of Smallville episodes. It's not healthy, but we did it, and so there's a lot of enthusiasm in my house for this, and even my kids are excited about the kind of dark Zack Snyder look of this trailer.
Now, who's the villain?
I have no idea.
Somebody told me, and I'm completely forgetting. It's not. Thank goodness it's not.
Lex Luthor.
It's like, come on, is there no other villain for this guy?
Well, let's see. More Man of Steel. It looks like we do have Zod.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's General Zod.
General
right.
Zod. And General Zod
another villain we've already done before.
Yeah, although I don't think, I don't know. I'm not sure they've really captured the Zod's role. The Superman 2 is... it wasn't a great example of Zod, I don't think.
Oh, come on. That's the best of those ones.
Do you note the uncomfortable silence?
I did. Actually.
That was not a technical glitch. That was made to pressure you into retracting what you just said.
I will not. It's better. It's the best of all the Superman movies.
Stand down, son. That is not... You can't just say that.
Oh, I just did.
Oh. All right, Superman series on the list for 2013.
Oh boy!
You just
can't wait to talk about Richard Pryor.
Oh. All right. So, okay. So we're excited. We've got character of Zod. It looks like he's saying that Snyder is going to utilize the character of Zod the same way that Richard Donner did. So let's see. Regardless, Snyder once dismissed Zod's involvement as nothing more than hearsay. So I don't know. That's not a good. No, That's a horrible rumor. That doesn't further discussion at all. I take that back.
So General Zod is in it in the same way he was in Superman 2.
Yeah,
just like in Superman Returns, it was done the same way with Lex Luthor as it was in Superman. I love their way that they keep redoing these Superman movies.
Come on.
I have to say, Superman is one of my least favorite heroes. I find him really uninteresting because he's as much fun as I have watching the movies. It's like, come on, he's Superman. He can deflect bullets with his eyeball. How are you going to stop him?
I'm not kidding. That was a good one. That was good.
Yeah.
All right. This
you know who's in that though.
Yes, I do. The 2x4. The plank.
A lot of people, but Christopher Maloney's in it.
Oh, yeah, that's the truth.
Who was, he's a fellow alum. Did you know
that? Did I know that?
I don't know.
Did we, hang out?
We've never talked. No, it was long before our time, but...
All right.
Just random trivia.
No, I'm suddenly excited about that.
That's right.
All right. So let's talk about your trailer, because I think if there was one trailer that rivals my excitement about Man of Steel this week, it would be this one. Go.
I don't know. I've been switching trailers in my head as to which one.
No, now you're going to... Okay, what are you going to do?
I'm going to throw you for a loop. I'm going to talk about Pacific Rim.
Oh, God.
I was going to talk about Oblivion, but I switched it.
Well, that wasn't even the one I was excited about. I thought you were going to do Into Darkness.
Oh, no. It was a sci-fi.
Remember, there are 4-year-olds listening to this show.
There were way too many sci-fi trailers coming out this week. I'll tell you that much. Woo! Pacific Rim. I just want to talk about it because this is another one I find it looks gorgeous, but I have a hard time getting into it. And I know a lot of people are really excited about it. A lot of Del Toro fans like it. And it's like, it's Robotech with giant robots and people in them running these giant robots fighting alien monsters that came out of the sea. I don't know.
Have you ever read Ebert's rules for film criticism?
I haven't. Should I have done that before I started on a podcast?
No. Well, I mean, it's a post. He wrote it a long time ago, and it was all. But one of the rules that he says is avoid trailers. Don't just avoid trailers altogether, because they, trailer makers are, notorious for giving away everything, right? Just avoid it. And so if you want to make a substantive contribution to film criticism, avoid trailers.
Yeah.
All right, I totally disagree with that. I disagree with that on a very deep and kind of visceral level. I think trailers are fantastic. I love the stories that they tell in these little I think trailers in themselves are an art form that is sort of a subgenre of film, and I love watching them. And I love that the game that these trailer editors play is to try to get us excited for things that and yet maintain some of the mystery behind it. I think the best trailers actually are able to get us excited and maintain the mystery, and I think this movie absolutely destroys that. This trailer destroys that. It gives away all of the mystery. I've seen the Kraken, and and it's giant robots, and really, 2 dudes in the head of the giant robot, both of them running to make the robot. I only see 2 sets of robot legs. I just I am already mistrusting the technological sort of assumptions that they are laying the foundation for in this film, and I think it looks really silly. And I think there are so many of what people consider Del Toro's best films I detest.
Yeah, we've talked about him a little bit, and I think I like the ones that you detest, and I detest the ones that you like.
Yeah,
but this one is one of those ones that, I mean, I'm hoping that you're wrong, and I'm hoping the big fight with the Kraken is all like the first 30 minutes of the film, and then something really interesting changes, and all of a sudden there's a whole extra element to the story that actually makes it new. But you're right. I mean, I feel like we've already seen everything that's going to be going on in this film, and guess what's going to happen at the end? The guys in the robot are going to beat the monster. I mean, it's not very it doesn't seem very interesting. It doesn't seem like there's much of a story there. So I don't know. I find it hard to get excited about it. I just find it so fascinating that it's done so seriously, and there's been obviously a lot of thought and time and energy put into this. The designs of these robots, I mean, the blueprints for them you can find online and download, and I mean, it's insane. It's crazy how focused people are on doing this, and it excites me that people are enthusiastic about it. I'm not, but I hope something interesting comes of it.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm with you, and I think it will be great when people realize it's actually a boxing movie.
If they want big robots fighting, they should just go watch Real Steel.
Yeah, exactly. Great film, by the way. People should go see Real Steel.
Yes.
Okay. I think I've checked all my little to-do boxes.
I think so. I think we're done with all of these.
Let's see.
Witty
banter, check. Where can you find us? Check. Nice comments! Exclamation point! Check. And trailers. So, what do we want to talk about?
This is El Fin. No, you don't say El Fin. That would be Spanish. What is? I don't know how. Le Fin.
Fin. It's just fin.
Of our fun-filled, wacky Luc Besson series.
All right. We've done Nikita.
Which I liked more than I remembered.
Yeah, good. I think that's open-minded of you. We did Léon, the professional.
Which I really liked more than I remembered.
Yes, which was outstanding in a lot of its own ways, and still kind of dumb in others, but generally a terrific film.
Yep.
On the list of movies we like.
Definitely.
And now we're talking about The Fifth Element.
Yes.
Where would you?
Well,
I find myself nervous to have this conversation with you.
If you didn't read what I wrote on Facebook,
I read it. Would you like to recap?
Well, rewatching it. Okay, I watched this once, the first time in the movie theater when it came out. I was really excited for it. The trailer was gorgeous. If anyone remembers the trailer, as I recall, man, maybe my memory is incorrect, but it was all just orchestral score and just gorgeous images for 2.5 minutes of just glorious eye candy that we watched. And it looked wonderful. Then I watched it and I realized what he had done with it. And I was so upset. I was so disappointed. I swore I would never watch it again. And it was just abysmal, terrible film. A few years later, it finally came out on DVD and all that. And I was like, oh, you know what? And maybe I'll give it a chance again. And maybe I was wrong. I was in the wrong frame of mind. I'll watch it again. And I watched it again. I was like, man, this is really awful. I really struggled with it. I really hated it. And then I was like, oh, it's going to be part of this series. I know it. And sure enough, you wanted it as the third one in the series. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. I'll watch it again and I'll look for the redeeming features in it. And I couldn't find but a few. Sorry. Oh, so that's where I am.
Oh man, that's heartbreaking.
At
once I used to think you were so open-minded, and I mean, what about the poster? Did you even like the poster?
The poster's okay. You know what's funny though is when I wrote that on Facebook.
Yeah,
I had a number of friends who commented about how much they love the movie.
Yes.
And this is one of those films that I think, and again, maybe I just don't click with the wacky comedy stylings of Luc Besson, because I just don't, his humor just grates on my nerves. In every film, anytime something is funny or his over-the-top style is really standing out, I have a really hard time with it. And this film is not just the over-the-top style, but it's also his sense of humor all the way through. I mean, this is probably as close to a straight-out comedy that he's ever made. And it pains me to watch this film.
I have a theory.
Okay.
I've been trying to work this out. When we talk, and so much of this theory is kind of built on watching Luc Besson's other films, and the things that I struggle with in Luc Besson's other films are the sort of campy portrayal of bad guys and crime, and how it almost becomes sort of this vaudevillian sort of play in the most serious moments, and this sort of unintentional jocularity that comes with Besson's work is out of place in movies that otherwise bring some great character complexity and relationship substance. Right?
Right.
All right. The Fifth Element, I think, capitalizes on in this more or less no holds barred sort of a fashion on all of the personality that Luc Besson is. Right? It peels away all of that sort of significance that he brings to the professional and the relationship between Jean Reno and Matilda, or Leon and Matilda, and it becomes 100% the thing that Luc Besson wakes up in the middle of the night thinking about. Right? It is his being John Malkovich, right? We are now in Luc Besson's head. And I think in that respect, we're seeing the movie he was meant to make.
Well, and not just in his head as a 16-year-old, because as he's claimed, he came up with this whole idea when he was 16 and started writing it down. And so it very much does feel like a young boy's teenage sci-fi fantasy film, This is his Star Wars, as Star Wars is to Lucas. Yeah. And he was able, because of his work, to take this 16-year-old script and turn it into a massive special effects extravaganza that is an incredibly rich painting of beautiful color and staging and light and sound and all of the sort of technical support that comes with a big blockbuster film around a script that is goofy and muddled and muddy and nonsensical. I mean, you could just go ahead and deride the script all day long. I have no problem with that. I've seen this movie a ton of times. I realized as I was watching it this time, trying to pay attention, I cannot pay attention to the story itself. I can't get through it. I lose track. My ADHD kicks in, and suddenly I'm counting toothpicks. I had forgotten that this actually was a Luke Perry vehicle, for example. I had to. That was really funny to see him pop up. I'm like, oh wow, yeah.
So as it turns out, there is a story in here, and
fancy that.
It turns out that there is, and I'm not sure if he's actually trying to make a cultural statement, or a political statement, or a religious statement, or if the Mando Shawans, the ancient Muppet people.
No, they're the robot people. Well, they're all Muppet-y looking.
They're all Muppet-y looking. And the ancient Muppet robot people were actually the precursors to human civilization, and they come down to Egypt because everybody comes to Egypt with their giant ovipositor. They're giant steampunk. Oh yes. Okay. So they come to get the stones, and each stone represents an element, and then there is the fifth element, which is the handsome Milla Jovovich.
Jovovich.
Not in my head.
I actually looked it up because I was like, "How do you actually pronounce her name?" It's Jovovich. Did you know that?
I think I did know that. But I've never been able to habitualize it.
I know it doesn't feel like it's right.
Yes.
She likes it when you call her Jovovich.
She does.
That's what I've heard.
She does. She does. We were talking. She said, "You go ahead and pronounce the J. It's fine." I love the J. And she is, in fact, the fifth element. If you don't pick that up, she is the fifth element, and maybe that's a spoiler if you get that far.
Yeah, because she pretty blatantly says it.
Yes. Yeah. There are some real. I think there are some real highlights in the visual highlights in the film, and there's I think some really original kind of uses of technology and things I really liked. I found the sort of Cirque du Soleil style costuming and production design fit very well with the craziness of the overall story, and I think it made a lot of sense. Some of the headwear was, particularly Gary Oldman's crazy head shaved plastic apparatus. Might have been. I didn't see the function, but I certainly found it attractive.
It was pretty unique. It was the. I will say this. You're talking about a lot of the things that actually do work for me. The eye candy stuff, I think, is really interesting, and I think it's funny you talk about Gary Oldman. It was funny that he said that he what was that? How is it that they he described it as a blend of Gautier, who designed the costumes in this movie. Right. He also is famous for designing Madonna's big cone bras. And he said, Luc Besson says at the beginning they talked about each character, and for Zorg, Besson described Zorg as dandy nouveau riche Hitler.
That's perfect.
And you can see it coming through.
You really can. He plays that to a T. He is. As long as we're talking about Oldman, he doesn't come off. In this movie, I've seen folks who compare him to, to his role as in Leon.
Right.
I don't find him as impossible to pin down as Leon. He is. I think it would be tough for any actor to bring that. The level of the name is escaping me. Please help me. What was his name in Leon?
It's Stansfield.
It would be difficult in a overall sort of tableau as comical as is delivered in The Fifth Element. I think it would be difficult for anybody to deliver the mania of Stansfield as an evil character. I mean, there is good and bad in this movie, and it is all sort of comic strip good and bad. Not even comic strip, funny papers good and bad. But he's crazy, and he gets to yell lines that most people speak in normal tones, and that makes him the villain.
Yeah, he is kind of the villain.
Yeah,
this is one of the weird things about the film. One of the many strange things. I mean, he is the villain. He's kind of the one who's trying to stop the Fifth Element, but interestingly enough, he's not actually the antagonist. He's actually working for the antagonist, which is kind of oddly undefined as this big, dark, evil ball.
Well, this actually
calls him up on the phone.
That's right, because this is the Star Trek 4 conundrum. Right? This is the evil ball from space that has no other purpose but
right.
to make this planet act.
Right.
Where do you stand on that as a motivation?
It's terrible motivation. I mean, there's nothing behind it other than, and I mean, I guess I can say to Besson's credit, he's playing with that idea because people jokingly keep saying through the film, "Oh, we're going to go save the universe" or whatever. That it's a notion that seems so grand that it's just an impossibility almost. And so the fact that they're actually trying to do it in this is in itself kind of silly. However, it still doesn't work. It's not like he's doing it in a way that's turning it into a satire of films that use that as a device.
No, he's playing it very seriously, and in the end, Bruce Willis does get George and Gracie, and in the form of Milla Jovovich, and they do save the universe. Right. There is no MacGuffin here. They are really searching for this, and they do apply it.
Right.
And the universe is summarily saved.
And now we learn where our moon came from. So thank you.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for that.
Well, now wait a second. Was there ever any sense of time, or am I going to be getting too deep?
Well, the movie takes place in the 23rd century. So,
right.
Well, no, I guess that wouldn't make sense, would it?
I'm having trouble tracking that one.
I don't know. I just think it's odd that it ends up being exactly like the current moon that we have floating above our sky.
Well, maybe we soiled ours. This is a new moon. It's a new moon.
Maybe that's all it was. It was a moon delivery service.
Let's see. Other points that I really like, the visual stuff, particularly the visual effects stuff, the rebuilding of the fifth element, the construction of Milla.
The digital construction from whatever, I guess it was just an arm, right? That was left over from one of those giant robot things.
Right. She was apparently in one of those suits, I guess.
Or I thought she was the essence of it. I guess that confused me. Why it turned into her.
Well,
I thought it was taking her essence from the arm or something.
Oh, no. I think that was her severed hand inside a glove. That was her hand in a glove.
Okay. Well,
she was in a suit. And she was in the suit, and because you start seeing the bones come as an extension of what was sticking out there.
Right.
So, anyhow, I thought that was a particularly novel. Once you have let go of all of your disbelief, right? Once that is all suspended in the first 5 minutes of the film, and you see the attack by the dog aliens, the
dog aliens
henchmen
being the
Zorg's henchmen,
I don't know,
or his hired guns.
Yeah.
They have a name, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. Once you see that attack and you realize, okay, this is going to be a Muppet movie about dog aliens and robot people. Suddenly seeing Milla being digitally reconstructed in this giant glass
it's
coffin.
An avatar tank.
It's an avatar. That's exactly what it was. It's an avatar tank. Suddenly, none of that really is beyond disbelief. And I remember seeing it the first time I saw it when this film came out in 1997, and I was blown away. That was the single coolest thing I had ever seen to date.
Yeah.
You can't, seriously. Can you think of anything?
It was great. It's now it feels like kind of standard stuff.
Yeah.
But at the time, 1997, it really was mind-boggling. And that's what I'm saying. The visuals on this film really stand really high up there as far as what they were achieving in 97. It still wasn't good enough to win them an Oscar or anything. Titanic managed to kind of take all of those technical awards. But they did a really great job of creating this visually just stunning, gorgeous world that obviously Besson had really been thinking about. And him teamed with, his production designer, Dan, I don't know if it's Weil or Whale or Wheel, him and his team, and the costumes by Gautier, and, just all of this design that they had done in creating this world, I think was really amazing. So yes, and actually creating a person from the inside out, from the blood vessels and the nerves and the bones and everything. I mean, that was really stunning at the time.
It was still stunning, and I'll tell you, it holds up. It's still. I mean, obviously, we do better things now with computers, and that's obviously to be understood. That's where we are. But watching this again, I found that it absolutely holds up and is still a compelling sequence. Even though the responses of those, the officials, the military officials, as they're watching, ends up being a little bit too over the top. I found that sequence to be particularly good. Another performance I liked a lot was Ian Holm as the frenetic priest, priest astrophysicist, Jedi Knight.
Yes, there is definitely a little Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of thing going on here.
I thought he was I thought he was terrific in his portrayal of just craziness. He just walked around like a spark, just like electricity from each scene, just sort of nervous and terrified. And I found myself sort of always enchanted by his place on screen. I like watching Ian Holm work.
He really knows how to work in film. He understands how to play in on screen. Do you know that he had been in over 50 films by the time he did this one?
I didn't know that it was 50, but I knew he'd been around.
Yeah, he's been a busy boy.
Busy boy.
Yeah.
Let's see. And now I Bruce Willis. I've already said, I'm on the record, I do like the Bruce Willis.
Bruce is one of those guys that, I mean, you can always count on him bringing something great to the table. Well, I shouldn't say that, because Mercury Rising is out there. But for the most part, you can count on Bruce bringing great stuff to the table.
And so you feel he did all right with this material, is what you're telling me.
With the material, I mean, he does a good job with it. It's not his fault that the story is a big convoluted mess that's just full of nonsense from beginning to end. He does a great job in it, and I got to say, all the actors really buy into everything they're doing in this world and in this film. They all do a great job. It's just I just have a hard time getting onto the crazy train when I watch this film.
That, I think that is a really good point, that this movie is just downright goofy. And, every single character from Milla to Ian Holm to Bruce Willis to, I'm going to say it, to Chris Tucker.
Oh!
They delivered on the goofiness with all the sobriety that I think Luc Besson had asked. It really, they got into it.
They do. It's just like, I mean, I give huge credit to Brendan Fraser for the crazy, idiotic films that he does, because every time he does one, he is in it 110% with all of the sincerity that he needs as an actor.
And it makes his movies that much better.
I mean, I got to say, George of the Jungle, I actually laughed quite a bit.
Yes, because he's a goof.
Because he's totally willing to just be a complete goofball. Same thing in this film. Everyone really goofed it up. And I mean, not goofed it up like messed it up, but they really got the goofy side. They got into the goofy antics of the story.
Yep.
I can't believe I'm praising this movie so much.
I know, you're doing a great job. Let's keep it going. I want to talk more about Chris Tucker.
This is funny. I found on a website, totalfilm.com, did a 50 performances that ruined movies list. And Chris Tucker is number 20 on this list. I think he could have been a little higher, but you do have to have Ahmed Best above him, what he brought to Star Wars Episode 1. But Chris Tucker, this is what he says about Chris Tucker. The performance. Screeching his way through this otherwise divertingly daft sci-fi, Tucker sounds like a litter of cats slowly drowning in a futuristic river. We're always up for a little camp silliness, but this one's a serious patience tester. How it could have been rescued by removing the audio track of Tucker talking and replacing it with the sound of a clucking chicken. Far less annoying.
Okay, so what I have heard, according to the Ultimate Edition DVD release, is that the inspiration for this character of Ruby Rod were two artists that I quite admire, Prince and Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about that, I think he absolutely nailed it. He is the spiritual love child of Prince and Lenny Kravitz in this film. He totally crushed it. And a Muppet.
With one of Madonna's comb bras on his head.
I'm going to say this. I don't know if I would be sort of considered a negative guy, but in this, I feel sort of counter to you, and I'm surprised. I did not find myself as annoyed by Ruby Rod as you and everyone. I think I may be the only guy who actually did not find myself really nails on a chalkboard around this guy. I thought the character was what he delivered was an example of I think if anything, if you're going to say that Besson captured satire in any sequence in this film, it was on the ship on Fhloston Paradise, which was Ruby Rhod plays this DJ to this show that doesn't end.
Right.
It's like this reality show that goes on and on and on. And the show exists wherever he is. And that if anything has, we've gotten closer and closer to the Ruby Rhod reality over the last decade and a half. I think if we're looking at Besson, trying to have any sort of cultural relevance in this mess of a film, I think he gets close there in his interpretation or perspective on media.
Yeah.
There, I said it.
Okay.
You got nothing for that? You're not gonna. You don't even want to.
It was. Yes.
Oh, goodness. All right. Digital effects were done by Digital Domain. There was something about an uncredited. What did I read? There was an uncredited. Jean-Claude Mézières. Do you know this cartoonist?
Oh no, I don't. But I did hear something about how he came up with some of the designs or something, right?
Yeah, sci-fi. He's a sci-fi comic book artist, and he isn't directly credited in the film, though he is, quote, confirmed author of most sets, as his album The Extras of Mézières V2, My Fifth Element Sets for the film Luc Besson, title of the book, was published at the same time the movie came out, reusing the movie's logo on the cover and displaying all of his work. And so that's a book you can pick up, which documents the original art.
Interesting.
For the film, and the art for the film, the inspiration for the film is beautiful, and like these other two Besson films that we've talked about, almost every frame you can pause and take in as a still frame, as a photograph, and it's they stand up. He is such a visual director.
He is, and working with primarily almost the entirely same team that he has been working with through Leon and Nikita. It's a lot of the same people. He has the same DP, and I still don't know how to say his name right. Thierry? Is it like Jerry? Thierry? Arbogast, Terry? Yeah. Gorgeous cinematography. And a lot of the same team putting this together. And this is a man who truly does know how to put a film together. And I think it all fits back to what we started talking about in Nikita, is this term that a French critic had come up with for Besson and some of his other filmmakers at the time coming out of France, this cinema du look, where it was these filmmakers who had amazing visual styles but weren't necessarily making films about anything. And I think that there definitely is something, this one more than either of the others feels much more of that ilk, very much all about the look. Although interestingly, there's also this weird element where it's like he's trying to retread what James Cameron touched on in The Abyss, because you also have this moment at the end where Lilu, Milla's character, watches all of this footage as she's studying, reading through the lexicons of all time. And she comes across the letter V in violence, and or W with war, right? Mm-hmm. And she watches all the war footage, much like the aliens in The Abyss watch all of this footage and realize how awful we are and we shouldn't exist anymore. And she goes through the exact same thing these people did, or those aliens did. And in both cases, it ends up being love. So I mean, it's like he's trying to come up with this thing, and he's talked about it also, where it's like he's trying to say something deeper about mankind and how we're really not, good to each other, and why should we try to save ourselves and all this sort of stuff. I think James Cameron did a much better job saying it. I'm not sure it was that necessary in a movie this over the top, but it's there, I guess, if you're trying to find something deeper.
Well, I think you bring up a great point, which is, first of all, at what point it does the production design actually get in the way of the statement you're trying to make?
Yeah.
And in this case, it's all pomp and circumstance. This film
Definitely.
is all pomp and circumstance, and that becomes a quagmire for the story itself. But it brings up another point. I mean, we've talked about the other elements that have sort of fed into this film, and the sort of visual elements that have fed into this film. I mean, you've got the Star Wars and Star Trek and Abyss and all of these elements. At what point does the story of the Fifth Element, is it inspired? Is it homage or just plain derivative?
Right.
I was asking.
Well, it felt very rhetorical because, it's like, you said it. I don't know. I don't think that it feels like, I don't know. It feels like he wasn't really concerned. He was more concerned and focused on creating this amazing world than he was in really focusing on telling a story that made our journey through this world with him worthwhile. It doesn't feel like there's a big reason to go on this journey other than to see how pretty it all is.
And maybe that's the challenge, is that we walk away feeling like, I walk away feeling like that is enough. It is enough to me to go on this ride and get shaken around a bit and enjoy the sights, insofar as I am no longer interested in any statement you're trying to make. If you make a statement, it's dumb luck.
Here's the thing. I think that if I saw this film when I was 12 years old, I think I would have it in a much higher place in my mind. I think it would have hit me right. It would have been that sort of film that hopefully I would not go back and rewatch and find that it was actually, it was not the movie that I thought it was. But I think if I watched it as a 12-year-old, I would totally be into everything in this world.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely true. So you saw it a few years too late.
Yep.
Let's talk about the opera scene real quick, because that's one actually, I believe you say you really like.
I really like the opera scene. I think that's surprisingly still holds up. It's a really beautiful scene. I love the performance that the opera singer does, both as kind of more the realistic opera as far as what we know of opera, and then kind of the crazy alien opera that comes in the second half. That's really fun. And actually, I find the intercutting even between the opera singing and then the gunfighting and everything that Lilu is doing with the giant toad people, it actually works really well. And I think that for me is the strongest part of the film.
I think it's I agree. Diva Plava Laguna is I found that that sequence was particularly artful. I'm trying to just to figure. I had it here. Who played Diva Plava Laguna? Do you have that in front of you? I don't. In any case, I think what they did with it was fantastic.
My Wen.
I think what they did with that sequence was fantastic. I think that it made for a great transition, into the action, that takes us to the last to the home stretch of the film, and it gave us a great opportunity for some fantastic visuals of things blowing up.
Yeah. Did you know she's also in Léon?
I did not. I'm shamed to say.
Oui. She plays very briefly. She is the little wafy prostitute that Fat Man is getting ready to play with before Leon comes in and starts killing everybody.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and she is married or was married to Luc.
Oh,
did you know that?
To Luc, to Besson himself.
Oui.
He's had a tough time with, let's say, spouses.
Yes. Actually, it doesn't say here that they got married. It says, they got in a relationship is what it says. It says, she may be the inspiration for Matilda in Léon. Maïwenn met writer-director Luc Besson when she was 12, and in later years they got in a relationship and had a child.
Wow.
Creepy.
Just for a few years. Maïwenn Lebesco. And then, he was married to Milla Jovovich for a brief 2 years.
Yeah.
And divorced her, and now he is married to Virginie Silla. And is still married, as far as I know.
I think they married right after this film.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they got divorced shortly after The Messenger. Their follow-up to this.
Right.
Which I think I only saw it once, but I think I may have enjoyed it more than Fifth Element.
I find it difficult to believe that you wouldn't have, especially judging by the Fifth Element Flick Chart page, where, as you and I are friends on Flick Chart, and we can see how we have ranked Flick Chart. Would you like to guess where yours is? Don't go check.
Oh,
just give it just pick a number.
I
now
don't know.
You, my friend, have ranked a lot of films.
I've ranked a lot of films, and I have to say, there's a lot of films on there, that aren't ranked properly. But I'm going to say it has to be toward the bottom of the list.
I think this one probably is. You have ranked 31,000. 31,000. No, this is fascinating.
That's how many rankings I've done.
That's how many rankings you've
I've
done. You have ranked 3,004 movies as of
It's a lot of movies. 3,000
movies you've ranked. And of this film, this is, I think, the most fascinating point. You have ranked this film 1510. That means there are actually, according to you, 1,500 movies that are worse.
Yes. Well, I'm going to re-rank it right now. Let's see. Short Circuit or Fifth Element. I like Short Circuit better. The Morning After, please. The Blob, 1988 version, definitely. The Golden Child, you bet. Dancing Pepsi cans, I love it. Firestarter, yes. Oh, but not better than Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Sorry, I have to pick Fifth Element over that.
Oh, man.
So it's better than a couple. It's not at the bottom of the list. It's definitely better than Dreamcatcher. Ugh.
Not a big fan of Dreamcatcher. Is it better than Blade? House of Chthon? Yes, it is.
That would have to be one that I didn't rank.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I ranked it higher than you, but there are. I look at it a little bit differently. There are a lot of really good movies, that I rank it ahead of. I have it at about 390. So interesting, interesting little comparison, I think. But I'm glad we get to talk about it. How did it do in the? Did you even look up the numbers? Do you care enough?
No, I did. I'm always interested in this sort of stuff. In fact, I care so much that I completely geeked out, and I did an international film budgetary spreadsheet.
Well, by all means, sir.
Yes, I did. Okay, so. Well, I was curious because somebody posted on my Facebook page that this film, what did he say? That it was the highest, the most successful non-American funded movie up to that point in film history, which I found really interesting. I was like, really? Kind of surprised me, but it was something that was worth looking into.
Absolutely.
And then I said, is that really true? And he said, oh, wait, I screwed it up. It wasn't the most successful movie financed and produced outside the U.S. It was the most expensive movie financed and produced outside of the U.S.
That, I'm going to say, takes on a bit of a different meaning.
But as I looked into it, it actually, he wasn't far from the truth with his first comment. This movie cost $90 million to make. So a hefty chunk of dough to make this film. Now, he was talking about a statistic as far as like the money that came from outside of the country versus, U.S. funds. I couldn't find anything as far as like who was funding films, as far as like all these international films. I have no idea. I just went for international films, and I threw this on the list because even though it's kind of a U.S. film as far as everybody speaks English, all that sort of stuff, and then there's a cowboy. We have I threw it on the list because it was internationally funded. It was the French company Gaumont that did produce this film. So 90 million to make. I found the total budget was 95 million. So I'm assuming there's $5 million of prints and advertising in there. And this film domestically in the States only grossed almost $64 million. Internationally, however, it grossed over $200 million. So total, it did pretty well for itself. Almost $264 million that it made. So it definitely made its money back. Now it actually was the most expensive film made at that time of international films, and as I look at this, I think it still is the most expensive film made overseas. However, it also was the highest grossing one until 2002, when Spirited Away, the Hayao Miyazaki film, actually broke that record. And it outgrossed The Fifth Element, made almost $275 million. And then this year, that film, The Intouchables, or Intouchable, I don't know how you say it, but it's the French film about the paraplegic. That film is just like going gangbusters and making ridiculous amounts of money all around the world. It only made 10 million in the US, but it made over 400 million internationally. So that film almost doubled what The Fifth Element made. And it's like a, kind of a drama comedy sort of film as far as what I can tell. So
wow. Now, but how many years apart are those? When was that? When is that?
The Intouchables was 2012. That's this year.
Oh, that's this year, right?
Yeah, it's this year. And Fifth Element was 97.
97.
So, so 15 years in between. I don't know what the inflation rate has.
Adjusted dollars and adjusted costs of cinema tickets and...
Yeah, I don't have all that.
So, access to screens.
But yeah, I did this whole chart with...
That is fantastic.
The top 50 international films. It was, I just really geeked out on it. So yeah, I'll make a PDF of it and we can post it somewhere.
We will post it.
People who really are interested in this sort of thing can they can just engorge themselves on numbers.
I don't know if engorge is the word you want to use. I don't know. Well, we'll leave it. We'll leave it there.
There you go. Yeah.
Here's the thing about this movie. It's a mess. It's chaos. It is beautiful chaos. I think it is kind of addicting, maybe unhealthy. There's not a lot of substance to it, but it is so easy to just let it wash over you, I think. And I think Besson delivered sort of a 16-year-old's space fantasy, and I think he did it well. It at 126 minutes, for any other space epic that might seem reasonable. Here it plays long, even 15 years later. It's a long. Yeah. It's a long mess, and you feel it, I think, in this movie. But it is one that again, I like to wrap myself up in it occasionally, and I think watching it again, I didn't, like I said at the beginning, I still have I still work to figure out what this movie is about every single time I watch it. And I was trying to describe it to my 10-year-old, and I said, I can't tell you what I'm watching right now. I have no idea how I'd begin. So that I think says enough.
It really does turn your brain to mush as you're watching it.
It sure does. But it's on the list, and I would like to celebrate with you, sir. I feel like we have done yeoman's work here. We have finished our brief but delicious series on Luc Besson.
Well, I have a few things that I want to say. Surprise.
All right, do it.
So, okay, so first, this was interesting, and I didn't catch it. I never actually caught it, and it was like a little trivia track that pops up on the movie that you can watch it with, which actually helped me get through the movie this time. Corbin Dallas and Zorg are never in a scene together. They never interact in the entire film.
That's funny.
But there is one shot where they actually are in the same shot together. In fact, all the characters are together. Corbin Dallas and Lilu and whatever Ian Holm's character's name is, and Zorg. They are in one shot as Corbin, and they're all fleeing this giant ship, the opera ship, whatever it is.
Yes.
In orbit. They're all fleeing it as it's about to blow up, and we see them disappear into an elevator just as Gary Oldman's character comes out the door. So they are in one shot, one continuous take where they're all in a shot, but they never actually are in the same physical space together. I thought that was pretty interesting for a film that has all these characters who seem to be all playing so much the same game or trying to achieve the same thing, yet they never actually come together.
It is interesting, particularly that they are such big. They were big names in 1997. I mean, at this point, they're big bankable talent, and they never have them on screen together.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and then the last thing I want to say is just how, again, how much Eric Serra manages to make just an absolutely horrid score to listen to. There's a line on the filmtracks.com review of his score that says, "It's a nearly impossible score to sit through from start to finish because along the journey through the genres of reggae, techno, opera, rap, pop, and classical, the album fails to convey any kind of connecting tool with which to identify the whole work," which pretty much sums it up.
Does it feel a little bit like we're digging on Eric Serra?
I wouldn't feel like I needed to if I felt like he wrote anything good, but anyone who loves Eric Serra, we'd love to hear from you and why he is actually somebody that's worth listening to.
Otherwise, we may be forced to do an Eric Serra series. We'll have to do these 3 movies again.
I'd be happy to go back and revisit The Big Blue because of what you said last time about how his crazy tunes somehow might work with, people swimming with dolphins. And
I would say that's probably the closest it comes, but I agree with you. This one, it doesn't. The genre hopping really was the problem that I had with it, and I it's to the point where I didn't even make any notes on it because it was so dismissible. As an element of the film that it almost makes sense. I mean, you don't play a lot of video games, do you? You're not much of a.
I'm not a video gamer.
Well, there is this sort of thing. If you the real secret to video games, if you really ever want to, beat the impossible games, you always turn off the music and put on your own kind of soundtrack, and that's kind of what I felt like when I watched this movie. That boy, if I could have put on my own soundtrack, I would have enjoyed this experience even more. You kind of have to tune it out.
Yep.
So, anyhow, other closing comments?
I think that was it. I think I covered all of it.
All right.
So, it's there. I'm surprised by how many people reacted to me when I said how much I hated it, who actually completely praise it. But there were a few who stuck with me, and they seem to feel I guess it just proves that his style is just very divisive, and some people really get into it, and some people don't. And you know what? That's how it's always going to be with some stories that are like this. So,
true enough. All right. So, what do we have coming up? We have a special event this weekend.
Yes, this weekend we're going to be doing our film board. We're going to be chatting about The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey.
We are, and some of us will be talking about The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, high frame rate 3D IMAX.
Here. Some of us who have IMAX with
one of only 19 in the United States, 50 in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited about that.
Yada. No, I think it's
very excited to see this film. It opens. It actually opens as we're recording this right now. It is opening across the planet,
And so we're very excited to catch that this weekend, and that'll go live Sunday.
Yes.
And then next week we're taking our little holiday break, and we will bring you our conversation on the fantastic Christmas in July.
Wonderful film.
Wonderful film. A great holiday film. We're excited to bring that to you, and then we'll kick off a whole new series. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's a holiday/new series for our kind of New Year transition show. Very excited to lead into the new year with a wonderful artist.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think it's going to be fun.
No, me too. Me too, very much. So I think that's it. I think we're done.
I think so. I think we managed to pull through this series, and I'm glad we did it. I rediscovered 2 great films.
We wanted to take a moment to thank you for your continued support over the years. It's hard to believe that we've been having weekly, in-depth discussions about movies since 2011.
That's right, 12 years and counting. Producing this show is a labor of love for us, but it does require a lot of time and effort each week.
If you enjoy our podcast and would love to help keep it going, there are some easy ways you can show your support. One is by using our Originals page to shop for the original source material that movies we've discussed were based on.
That's right. In Season 1 alone, we covered 13 films adapted from books or plays, from Charlie Kaufman's adaptation to David Fincher adaptations like Fight Club.
In Season 2, we covered even more, like Powell and Pressburger's The Red Shoes and The African Queen from our series about legendary cinematographer Jack Cardiff.
We can't forget about the 4 Jason Bourne movies we talked about. Love those movies. Well, the original trilogy, at least.
For our Richard D. Zanuck series, we did Jaws, Rush, Big Fish, and more. And for our horror series, we talked about John Carpenter's The Thing, which was adapted from Who Goes There?
We did our first great car chase series with movies like Bullet, The French Connection, and Drive. And for the holidays, we did Preston Sturgis's Christmas in July.
We had a great John Huston series with adaptations like The Maltese Falcon and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
And for our baseball series, Moneyball with Brad Pitt. Have I told you lately how much I love that movie?
Yeah, I think you have. Plus, our Magician series and Heist film series had adaptations as well.
Tons of page-to-screen gems. Listeners can find the details and links to the original material at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book, play, or movie you buy through our links helps support the show, and it's no extra cost to you.
So dive in and get your next read today. thenextreel.com/originals has all the films adapted from other sources that not only we have covered, but all of the shows on the Next Reel family of podcasts. Check it out and get reading.
Support the show and build your reading list. It's a win-win. Head to thenextreel.com/originals.